Nasty, nasty crawl space. This is Marko Vovk from www.houseinvestigations.com. Crawl spaces under your home should not be vented to the exterior. The crawl space in your home, under your home, should be treated like the rest of your home. It should be heated, cooled, dehumidified, and conditioned. By adding vents to the exterior walls, you are now going to permit moist air to go into your crawl space. Also, when you have poor grading or gutters are overflowing, you're going to permit water to leak into those vents, especially if those vents are very low to the ground. And when the snow melts and it covers the vents, where do you think the water is going to go? In your crawl space. Bad idea. Would you drill a hole in your roof to vent your attic? I don't think so. Well, you're putting a hole in your house. That's what the vents do in your crawl space. You want to condition the crawl space. You want to seal it up. You want to heat, cool, and dehumidify your crawl space. You want to treat your crawl space just like your living room. If you buy a home or have a home where there is no access to your crawl space underneath your home, you really need to get in there and look. You can cut a hole in one of the closet floors. It's very important to inspect the crawl space because there could be a lot of things happening in the crawl space. If there's uncontrolled moisture coming in or humidity or moisture evaporating from the soil, you could have a lot of rot. You could have condensation underneath the insulation or behind the insulation. You could have deteriorated wood on sill plates. You could have water in there from hydrostatic pressure and flooding and water coming in through the vents. Not to mention the high humidity causes the insulation to drop and fall, which makes cold spots in the floor. Asbestos piping, if there is any down there, to fall. Now you've got contamination, slime, mold, mushrooms growing, mice, rats, all kind of things are down in that crawl space. So you really need to get down in there. Many times the moisture will cause deterioration of the wood timbers, and wood timbers support your house. You could have dry rot. You could just have a tremendous amount of mold. You could have interior vapor barriers that are installed improperly that cause condensation underneath the floor, and this causes the rot. When you walk into a house and you smell a musty odor, you've got mold in that crawl space. You've got water in that crawl space. Remember, if you see mold and you smell mold, guess what? You got mold. One of the most important things to have in the crawl space is the proper design. That would include a sub pump that would be in the ground for backup, probably 4 to 6 inches of coarse stone, then a visqueen layer or vapor barrier, or thick, the thicker the better, 100% sealed, including the sub pump 100% sealed cover, and then insulation. Of course, we could put perimeter insulation, not on the floor, on the perimeter walls to help insulate that basement. And then we could put a couple inches of concrete on top of that, or a mud mat, which is just a rough concrete surface. This generally doesn't happen. Most of the time we'll go into these crawl spaces and the vapor barriers are all loose. There's water on top of them. There's water underneath them. They're torn. They're not sealed. There's breaches around the perimeter. And then, of course, if you have ductwork in the crawl space, that's another problem, because now the cold air returns are in there. And if the cold air returns aren't sealed, in other words, little small holes or aren't taped up, it's going to suck your crawl space. When it sucks your crawl space, it's going to depressurize. So now you have a crawl space that sucks. Well, if it depressurizes, it's going to pull moisture out of the dirt, out of the cracks, out of the outside vents. So now you're sucking more moist air from the outside in the summer and cold, freezing air from the outside in the winter. And then, of course, if the crawl space is cold, you're getting condensation, dew point. It's like a rainforest in there. There's many times when I go into these crawl spaces, it's wet in there. The walls, it appears that it's leaking, but it's really condensation on the walls, or condensation behind the styrofoam insulation on the perimeter walls, or condensation on the air conditioner supply because it's cold. And so the humidity levels in the crawl space must be controlled. The temperature levels in the crawl space must be controlled, and the air and the crawl space conditions must be controlled. And you can't control them if you can't get into them. And you want to make sure that you could get in and inspect your crawl space. Also, to have it inspected by a wood-boring insect specialist. Thank you. This is Marko from Ambassador, www www.houseinvestigations.com. That's www.houseinvestigations.com. Please visit our website.